Okay, what is it with people who have a ton of power and influence constantly getting caught acting super inappropriately with minors? What goes through their heads and makes them think it's okay to do it? Is it because they don't think the rules apply to them or something? Or maybe they just think they're too smart to get caught doing it? Well, whatever the case is, 2021 is shaping up to be a year of celebrities getting put on blast for this kind of behavior though. From James Charles' whole holding myself accountable scandal, to everything that's been going on with David Dobrik, to the latest accusations coming out against Jake Paul. The list just keeps getting longer and more problematic, especially with its most recent addition. Seeing as even mainstream media is covering this situation, I think that by now everyone has probably already heard about what's been going on with EPD445. But if for some reason you haven't, then don't sweat it, baby. I'm going to get you all caught up on everything that's been happening. Well, we all click on videos we don't know anything about sometimes, and hey, even if you think you know everything, there might be something in this video that you weren't aware of. But before I go into any of that business, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get into it. The first question to answer here is, who is EDP445? Using the word influencer to describe this guy doesn't feel entirely right, but I guess that's technically what he was. At the height of his career as an internet personality, EDP445, real name Bryant, had over 2 million subscribers on YouTube and over 500,000 followers on Instagram. His content mostly just consisted of him ranting about sports teams that he didn't like, or whatever other topic of the day he had a problem with. He built himself a following out of being opinionated, vulgar, and rude. Which, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. There's clearly a market for it. And at the end of the day, he was playing a persona. Keep that in mind for later on. You notice how I'm using the past tense here? Yeah? That's because both YouTube and Instagram took the situation seriously enough to permanently ban him on both platforms. Now, if they could just do that for some of the others that have had similar accusations come out against them. James Charles, that might be a teacher. All the other people. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, what is the situation? And that's a seriously complicated question to answer. In order to answer it, we're going to have to break it down into a timeline of sorts, because this isn't just a one-off incident. He's been caught doing it multiple times at this point, but awareness around it has fluctuated. Okay, so let's get back to where things really started going wrong for Bryant. In July of 2020, a YouTuber by the name of Cold Raven uploaded a video to his channel called EDP445 Accusations and Lies. At this point in the timeline, Bryant was already facing accusations of inappropriately messaging minors and basically soliciting pictures from these kids. He's already done a live stream trying to defend himself from these accusations, and this video was a response to that. Cold Raven went through everything Bryant said during that live stream and broke it down, pointing out all of the inconsistencies and contradictions that were being made. He didn't stop there though. Because of how dedicated Bryant's fan base was at the time, he knew people wouldn't just believe him at his word.
And people are gonna still come out here and try to defend him. The thing that I'm understanding is the reason why he's getting defense from his fan base is because they see that the girls are 14, 15, and 16, and his fan base are kids who are 14, 15, and 16. So since they kind of see the age, they're like, oh, there's nothing wrong. I like that. You should like that too. But dog, you're a 15-year-old that likes 15-year-olds. That makes sense. He's a 30-year-old that likes 15-year-olds. That's where the problem comes.
So we uploaded a second video on the same day. This one was called EDP445 Accusations Evidence. It's exactly what it sounds like. Cold Raven provided a number of screenshots of Bryant's private messages with these children, as well as inappropriate comments he made on the Instagram post. He points out multiple instances of Bryant knowing the ages of these girls and continuing to talk to them anyway. At the time, he was met with a lot of backlash. The like to dislike ratio on both those videos proves that people weren't willing to listen to what he had to say. As one person comments, the fact that there are more dislikes than likes, but pretty much all of the comments agree with Raven, tells you something. It's important to emphasize here that this wasn't the first time someone had come forward and accused him of this kind of behavior. It was just the first time anyone else had actually started paying attention to it. Previous accusations had been waved off, and they were no doubt told that they were just doing it for attention. They were probably painted out as clout chasers. You know how it goes. No one ever wants to be the first person to come out against a celebrity. And while the reaction to Cold Raven's videos wasn't even remotely positive, it did bring attention to the overall problem. This is where the second part of the timeline comes into play. There are a ton of YouTube channels out there dedicated to catching people doing the kind of thing Bryant was accused of. With all the accusations floating around about his preferences, one of those channels decided to step up to the plate. They decided that their best bet of catching him in the act was to run a sting operation. You know, obviously they wanted proof of him knowingly being inappropriate with kids before they contacted the police. To say they succeeded is putting it mildly. So they set up a fake social media account for a girl and started messaging him. The responses they got to some of these messages are honestly disgusting. The longer he talked to this girl, the more comfortable he got talking about his interests. He'd often describe exactly what he wanted to do to this kid, even though he knew she was very young. He would make comments about certain parts of her body. And at one point, he even made a joke about keeping her locked up in a dungeon so he could do whatever he wanted to her. This all eventually led to them convincing him to meet up with this girl in public. They invited him to an abandoned apartment complex. It took them a while to convince him to even go, so clearly he knew what he was doing was wrong. But still, eventually they talked him into it. When he showed up, they started questioning him and showed him screenshots of the conversations he'd had with this girl. He admitted he'd been the one doing it.
So this is you texting all this, correct? This is your Instagram, yes or no?
Right.
Okay, all right.
As soon as they started talking about contacting the police, he tried to make a run for it. You might be wondering, what happened with the police investigation? You'd expect something to come of it, right? We know that he was reported to his local police department because there was a case filed against him. There was even a statement made about being unable to comment on an ongoing investigation. And then, nothing. It doesn't seem like anything will happen either. See, the people who ran the sting operation in the first place, turns out they're not great people, especially Chet Goldstein. He'd said some incredibly questionable stuff about kids, and he's well known for using the N-word on a regular basis. And because of all that, the evidence that they gathered over the course of their investigation has basically just been waved off. But it's important to remember that even though these people are not good, that doesn't suddenly mean that Bryant is innocent of all the things he's been doing. Sure, they may have messed up the handling of the evidence, but Bryant still went to that apartment complex to meet up with someone he thought was a child. Okay, maybe this time it was fake. This time it was just a sting operation and none of the people involved were ever in any danger of actually getting hurt. But he admits in that interview they did with him that this isn't the first time he's done something like this. So there are probably minors out there who have been hurt by him. They can't all be people catfishing him. And wherever those kids are now, I hope they're doing okay and that they're getting the care they need. The things that he's admitted to doing multiple times in the past are upsetting enough to hear about secondhand, let alone being someone who's lived through them. The only really good thing to come out of this entire situation was the deletion of his Instagram account. That was the easiest way he had of talking to these young girls. So now that it's gone, he's going to have a harder time doing this kind of thing. Now, I know you're probably thinking at this point, this has got to be the end of Bryant, right? There's no way a person could ever be able to come back from something like this. Even if nothing ever happens to them legally, surely their reputation is so ruined that they can never have any kind of career on the internet again. And for a while, it looked like that might be true for Bryant. The day before that episode went live, he uploaded a video to his second YouTube channel called Better Move Fast. It was basically just an announcement that he was going to be deleting the videos on his main channel. It was a way of telling his fans to move quickly if they wanted to save any of the videos before they'd be gone forever. Then he deleted over 2,000 videos from his main channel and seemingly just disappeared from the internet. He never released an official statement about what was going on, he never addressed any of the accusations, and he didn't even acknowledge the episode about him. He just went radio silent until he announced he was coming back. Oh yeah! You heard that right. He is trying to make a comeback. At the beginning of May, he uploaded a video to his still active Facebook page announcing that he'd be making a comeback in the next couple of weeks, which just makes me wonder, why is Facebook still giving this guy any kind of platform? YouTube and Instagram immediately took action against him, but Facebook didn't? I don't know about you, but that seems pretty sketch to me. Anyway, in this video, Bryant says that he'll be making a return to the internet with the launch of his own website. From the sounds of it, his content on this new website will be pretty much the same as it was before. I guess doing it this way means he gets to set his own terms and conditions. If he makes up his own community guidelines, he doesn't have to worry about breaking them. He doesn't have to answer to anybody. Oh, except, you know, the law. He talks a big game in that video. He acts tough, like he's not scared of anything and that he's not gonna let anyone silence him. Don't let that fool you. We all remember the way he started crying when he got caught trying to meet up with a child. What do you guys think? Is his attempt at a comeback going to be successful, or will it completely fail? Do you think he deserves to have any kind of platform after this? Do you think he'll face any consequences? Let us know in the comments below.